Collecting once, now I'll never move again alone. Made a couple dollars from fist filled with rockin' broken home. Y'all finna see, making it so all my loved ones known. Doing it so that the Google drape up on my collarbone.
I'm Rob.
I'm E.
I'm McKinley.
Welcome to the next movement, folks.
Okay. Some been getting this revenge. Feel the heat, you hear it buzzing. How we raising from the ground. Type shit discussing with my cousin. Said I put that shit on everything. Everything it wasn't. The sunlight gon' take us back one day. Well, I mean, I guess if it don't kill you, make you harder. Bring them back just for my heart. Should've seen an easy border. Groovy nigga walking in. You can hear it in his song to hear the melody. He don't walk, he do his little dance on water, boy. As the plot thickens, my niggas be clicking. Hard bottoms, 3 a.m. on the floor in the kitchen. Dance to the death, my heart and floor, you stuck. I do anything, but let's not wake Miss Jackson up. Let's get out of here.
McKinley Dixon, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you giving us the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Of course. I love talking hip-hop.
Yeah, and we're excited to talk about Magic Alive. This is the new record. Comes out June 6th, right? Is that right?
Yep.
It's a truly magical record that feels very much alive. There are a number of conceptual layers to this project, as outlined in detail in the press materials. But I wondered, to start, if you could tell us in your own words, what is the essential message of Magic Alive?
Magic Alive is my first album that is a story, more so than based off my life. So the story of this one revolves around 3 kids who lose their friend one summer and spend the summer finding a way to bring him back, only to find out that the way to live forever is through song and dance. So there's a lot of sort of moments of reanimation and bringing the deceased back to life and fear and excitement and wonder and a lot of childlike things like that. So it all kind of makes magic.
Well, one of the things that I love about the project is the way you've sort of stretched and expanded the definition of the word magic on this record. It's not just sleight of hand. It's not some supernatural occurrence or spiritual experience. It might also be, to quote from the press materials, a guy getting away with something by ducking from authorities, or the slippery way the world starts to feel after a long pull on a joint, or a slow drink from the bottle, or, if I might add, the feeling that is conjured by especially powerful music like what we hear on this record. What led to the initial focus on magic in all its forms for this project?
So magic is really cool for me. I think that I believe magic is a combination of luck, charm, your intuition and connection to the earth, and having a knowledge of the past, present, and future. You know, I think all those things together sort of give everybody a little bit of magic to it, you know, and I think that's something that I've talked about on a lot of my old records, but just not with that term. You know, it's more so just me trying to think about the way that specifically Black folks can see the past. So they take it with them in the present and then they use it to figure out the future, you know, sort of light time travel. But then I really love that concept, and I think I just wanted to expand on it in a way that was more wonder, you know, a little bit more fun, you know. And I think when starting this album, I took one word, but figuring out ways to describe magic by using one word, you know, like magic is like wonder, it is dangerous, it is fiery, it is childlike, it is beautiful, it is conjuring, you know. And I sort of then was like, what is alive? Alive is to like survive, dance, thrive, you know, peace. And I think I put those things together to make the concept, make an album. And that really was and is what magic is to me.
I think the story of Magic Alive, for me, really speaks to the innocence of children and the freedom that comes with that. I think having such a simplistic, unrestricted view of the world and the possibilities it can offer is part of what makes kids so magical. And it can be difficult to channel that as adults after having really lived and experienced life. So I have 2 questions here. The first one is, do you feel like the lens you used to explore and then develop the themes of the new album allowed you to take a creative approach that you've never taken before?
Yeah, it's a good one. It actually definitely did. So this album, I say it's the first storybook because I feel with all of my records, they've just been sort of reflections of where I've been at the time. You know what I
Mm,
mean? We can go Beloved Paradise Jazz. It was how I view the world through the teachings of Toni Morrison. For my mom and anyone who looked like her, is me
hmm
processing the death of a loved one. You know what I mean? Openly, and I think it goes back and back and back. But with Magical Live, it was sort of the first one where I was like, well, what if I write a story book? So what if I keep myself separate from the intimate details while still making it applicable to my life and thus making it applicable to those that look like me, right? So then I was like, all right, a storybook, cool, cool, cool. What is a way to live out the intention of trying to live forever? And to me, you can live forever, like truly through children's media. You know what I mean? Like children's books,
hmm
children's stories. And I think you find a way to talk about something with a kid, they'll never forget it, and everybody's been a child. So it's like really, it just seemed like obvious when talking about magic, you have to also mention the wonder that children see things with just inherently. And that's why I wanted it to be intuitively magic. You know, I didn't want it to have to guess, oh, what is this? What's happening? You know what I mean? I wanted it to be like, this is something that you could see as a kid and be like, wow, you know?
Yeah. The second question I have is when you were coming up for the storyline for this project, did you find yourself examining your own childhood and the experiences you had growing up?
Definitely. You know, I think so. Writing a book is hard. You know, I think writing anything besides, even writing rap music is hard. I think even though I say that I tried to separate myself from it, I still had to find ways that I kept it neat, you know, and kept it real. So there's definitely a lot of moments that are one of one me, like even Sugar Water, when I mentioned like not waking Shaq up, you know, that was like, that's my grandma, you know what I mean? But then it's also like, there's a lot of moments where it's just sort of very loose, like on Fistful of Light, the whole thing about there we stand, bow in hand, silent deadly. Where, you know, it's like a metaphor for paternal figures and things like that. So I think that I pulled from all of it is from me, but it was I was like, I just can't have the weight of it be me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, to that point, it has seemed like maybe there was a need to depersonalize your music a bit leading up to Magic Alive. It sounded like there were times when the previous records and the grief expressed in them contributed to listeners and fans like wanting to open up to you about their own struggles with grief. All that sounds incredibly heavy and maybe a natural consequence of sorts to being vulnerable in your writing. I'm wondering what you may have learned about writing about personal experiences and feelings and whatnot as a result of making Magic Alive.
Oh, what have I learned? Man, that's a good ass question too. What have I learned from making this record? Honestly, from this, I've learned to be a little bit more intentional with just how you sort of just move throughout the world. You know what I mean? I think all of my records sort of do that, but this one, with it being focused so much on magic, it sort of forces me to be like, if I want to live what I say, then how can I incorporate sort of magic into my life, even in my just how I act and how my relationships are. You know what I mean? Try to be more intentional. Try to have more moments that lead to you intersecting your intention with the ground, with a little bit of luck, with a little bit of having a knowledge of everything. You know, I think it just sort of puts me in a position with this record that I know I just love to think more about the world through the eyes of a child as well. It's good to keep the heart of it. You know, and I think that is something that kids inherently do. I feel like you get older and it gets a little bit more, you know, you get older and it gets a little bit more older, and that's really what it is. So, but that's what this one was. I was like, what more fun? Laughing in the middle of records, whatever, man. You know what I mean? Like, I got like my manager singing on it. Like, just have that's more fun.
Part of Magic Alive, obviously deals with grief and loss. And for me, and having to process that, particularly as an adult, one of the things that I've had to learn is that the best way to honor the folks who have transitioned is to not take life for granted and experience as much joy in it as I can. And it feels like you're teaching us how to do that in a way on Magic Alive. So has music, both yours and the work of artists you appreciate, served as like a similar guide that's walked you through life, namely the more difficult aspects of it?
Yeah, I feel like I do a lot of like my trade outside of rapping is animation. So a lot of that is it's like movies, you know what I mean? It's not it's sort of the intention of moving images. And I think I just became so intimately my everyday life just became so intimately tied with not only music, just how I take it in, but also when I'm working on animation and things like that, how impactful a scene is with the sounds that come from it. You know, and I think, that influenced a lot of just how I approach all of this. You know what I mean? All of the sort of moments together with magic and my own life.
As we've been talking about, with you developing the storyline, some of the reason you did it was to kind of take the spotlight off of you and your personal experiences. And, now that the album is done and you've had time to just sit with it and sit with this process, do you think this approach, like using storylines and other voices to share your own experience, will be the thing that helps protect you and the more vulnerable parts of your artistry when you're creating future projects?
Definitely. I have a really good time finding ways to meet in the middle. You know what I mean? I'm like, I have
Yeah.
a great time being like, what is this exuberant comparison to like King Midas as he sits in a castle, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, all right, now let me find a way to connect it with me. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is so fun. And it also allows me to learn in my real life and study and things like that, because then it gives me more things to be, to be so in tune with and to compare to and make stories about. And I think that is, I think meeting in the middle is makes for keeping it a little bit fun, like
Yeah.
playful. I think the best thing that Magical Live does is sort of be this creative endeavor that you can hear as if it is being created right there, even though it is a finalized thing. I think as you listen to it, it's supposed to sound like, okay, this song is done, everybody back into position. You know what I mean? Like, let's get back and like, we gotta like, before the next one starts, and then the next one starts, and it's like this other story, and that's how I envisioned it when I was like creating it. And I think that sort of keeps it interesting and fun.
It's funny you mentioned time travel because as I have been sitting with this album and considering all the layers and influences, particularly your connection to the American South, I've been thinking about Octavia Butler.
Ah, yes.
Particular her book Kindred. Kindred, for those who don't know, is a story that attempts to grapple with the suffering and brutality of the antebellum South, but uses a fictional device, time travel, a particular type of magic, perhaps, to contrast modern American life with 19th century slavery. Butler's work overall employs a great deal of fantasy while addressing dark periods in our history. I've wondered about the freedom or authority being exercised when writing stories like this. I've imagined that you've exercised a similar kind of authority and freedom in writing Magic Alive, and in that way have contributed to a sort of lineage of writers like Octavia Butler. Would you agree with this?
True. Listen a little bit. A lot of dip on my chip, but I definitely do take in the like. I think the best thing that Octavia Butler does with her writing is, well, this one is a little bit different than a lot of her work, because this one, while it is sci-fi, it is like, I feel like it is like one of her. Don't quote me, I guess, on that, but I think that this one, all of her work, just so nonchalantly intertwine sci-fi with the everyday human experience, and they so nonchalantly intertwine the complexities of the everyday human experience. You know what I mean? And I think that is really, really cool, and that's what makes it special. Is how it's just you don't question how supernatural the things are in her writing. You know what I mean? And I think that is what I try to take from Octavia Butler's work, because it is very Kindred is incredible. All of her work is incredible. That one is, I feel like, the most has a time on it. But yeah, that's why I really like. That's why I really love Octavia. But yeah, thank you. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make it so it's like you don't question what's going on. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, of course. here is this next character that is supposed to progress the story along, and it's also maybe he comes back later in another album. You know, it's like, oh, of course, these people who have been here from different time periods are here again together on this specific song. You know, I think that yeah. So I do try to keep it a little bit October though. Yeah.
A few years ago, you did an interview with Rolling Stone right before you released Beloved Paradise Jazz. And in the beginning of the piece, you talk about spending summers in Queens and how that was really important for you because it sounds like it allowed you to find community with other Black folks. And it really feels like you're paying that forward and offering the same sense of community on Magic Alive. This album feels like, to me, a very communal, a very Black experience. Is that the foundation you were trying to build on the project? And if it was, in what ways did taking that direction further reiterate the importance of community for you?
Yeah, all the time. You know, I think that it's just so cool to be able to be like, so there's a lot with that question for real because I don't view my catalog as this record is going to be, you know, this record. I view it as one thing. I view it as I'm very excited to see where I'm at, where it ends. You know what I mean? I'm using the past to inform how I'm feeling in the present and it's looking to the future. Like, I want to look back at my body of work and be like, this was time well spent for everybody involved. You know, and I think that in search of that comes, you know, forcing you to be intentional, even in moments of like, you know, all of my records are recorded in Richmond, Virginia, you know, with everybody I've known since back in the day, you know, and it's like if I find an artist that I really love, they become someone who's on every record. You know, I can't
Mm,
make a record without them. And it just seems so obvious because, you know, these people have known me for so long, they know exactly what I want to do. And I think bringing a community with me forever, always is just so cool. It's just so cool to be able to go back home and be like, do you remember when? And then everyone around you is like, yeah, we all remember when. And it's like really dope when that's something that happens. And I think it also keeps me grounded because it is whenever I'm feeling a little bit in the city of Chicago, I'm always like, I'll just go back home for a little bit. And
mm,
even with Queens is a little bit more complicated because that timeline is in the past. You know what I mean? And
sure.
I think that one day I will reminisce on it in a way that doesn't seem like I could still reach it. But right now, it doesn't seem far enough away. You know what I mean? I
Mm,
don't really try to think about it too much
mm.
with with my music and in my personal life. You know, I keep parts of it with me, but I don't. I'm a new, you know, blah 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 blah. So I think that it is good to sort of have this community built into my music because I mean it's always worked out so far. You know,
Yeah.
I love my
Hmm.
friends.
In the same Rolling Stone interview, you said something about your artistry that was really interesting. You said, I'm good at describing a feeling of missing something or looking for something. I think that's certainly a process you're going through on Magic Alive, but also when I read that, I was like, well, that's a really like valuable tool. Does having the ability to do this kind of analysis through your art allow you to better determine what you need from people and the world around you?
Yeah, exactly. It definitely does. And that's like, and we're all working on it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that in my personal life, it is sort of this thing where it is theatrical, you know, it is dramatic. I try to mirror the records with how I live, you know, and vice versa. And I think that I sort of had to find something that I'm good at. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good at I'm good at recalling moments. You know, I'm good in my personal life at remembering names. I'm good at sort of like I've always said like the way to sort of get to this position is just remember everybody's name and like their pronouns and things like that because it really is just like keep it sort of intentional with how you talk to people.
Hmm.
Eventually, blah blah blah, you'll get to where you need to be. And I think I'm also really good at because of that. I'm really good at like remembering things intimately how I would like. all of it has come together to be me, right? So I think that what I do, my music, people think that my music is hard to make. You know, they hear like the instrumentation and they hear all of this, and it's like, well, no, it's not hard. It's everybody loves me. So it's like all of these people that I have, they love me and they know me, so they can make this work, right? So I think what is hard about my music is being able to know the past, present, and future. You know, and
Mm.
I work really hard to be able to remember feelings more so than like I don't write raps. I write sort of I take bits from moments that I remember, right? So that all goes into being able to describe yearning because it is like yearning is not a negative feeling. It is not also a positive feeling. It's a feeling that happens just all the time, like consistent. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
missing things are is just it just happens. It exists. You know, we are always missing stuff. And I think that living in those memories and like talking about them in ways that doesn't separate them from who we are right now. You know what I mean? Like you can miss something and still be content with where you are. And I think that is something that is hard to talk about,
Hmm.
but I'm working on it and I'm bringing it back. I'm working on it. And I think that it is just good for how you live your life. It's good to be able to be aware that time is unwavering and effective, but it is also gradually, you know, I don't know. I think that I love being aware that I've lived in a moment, you know, because
Hmm.
why would I not recollect
Yeah.
where I've been fondly if I'm doing what I'm doing now with
Mm.
my full intention? There it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
I want to switch gears a little bit and ask you about the production on this album.
Sick.
Feels pretty special to me. It's vibrant. You've been talking about fun a lot in this interview. It's certainly fun sounding. It sounds like it was fun to make.
Yeah, it was.
Much of it sounds like live playing, including the drums.
Yeah, it is. Shouts out to Sean. That's the Sean. It's my band. Sean, Gav, Steven, Sam Coughlin, Sam Yamaha.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I know you worked with Sam Yamaha, an English producer, on many of these beats. Could you talk a bit about the process and how you were able to achieve this vibrant sound?
Yeah, so this one is also interesting because it's the first record where I didn't do any production. So usually all of my records, and this is how you form a community. I used to take my Bluebird mic, the mic I still use for features. That's all the features that people that stick it in the mic. And I would put it in my backpack and I would bike around Richmond. You know what I mean? I would just find people that could do things. I would post on Facebook, I post on Instagram, whatever, when Instagram was created. I would be like, yo, I just need somebody who can do this. And I would find them, right? So a lot of the live production is just, I have been so intimately involved with it. You know what I mean? And I always am intimately involved with the production just because this music is not, you know, it's not easy to just go on beat, right? But this was the first record where I was able to take a step back from the production and just say my ideas. And that also probably helped in how I was able to separate myself from writing and, you know, it's all connected, right? So Sam E. Yamaha is also the first person that I've let into my camp, not from Richmond. And that's a big thing as well, because it's like even my manager, Brooks, I think the book is from Virginia. You know what I mean? It's like everybody that I keep in my band at least is from Virginia. Just because I've known everybody for a decade plus now, you know, we're going on like 15 years now with everybody back home. So it was cool because Sam approached us and was like, I really love this sound. Here's what I've made that I think sounds like pretty much a McKinley Dixon type beat. And it was, could have been different, you know. That was the first thing Sam sent me, and it was just like, you know, it was obvious. It was obvious that this person should be a part of this story because it was what I needed to switch up my ideas and my thinking, you know, after making Beloved's Paradise Jazz. Because that's the other thing. It's like Beloved Paradise Jazz, we're not really talking about it for real, but that record was like, you know, also all instruments. We all were in there for a weekend. How we do this is we write the shit out first, and then we're there for 7 days, about 12 to 15 hours in the studio, and we just have people come in all day. And it's just like, if you can make it, you can make it. We put out calls there. We have like the main band, which is like Cav, Deshaun, Steven. You know what I mean? And then that's also my touring band, you know. And then once we get the rhythm section, we just have people like we can get a choir, we can get singers. You know, my manager's on one song. I got like some kids on like one song. It just we just knock it out in 7 days. So it's really cool because with these ones, Sam Yamaha was able to sort of bring things that were already put together loosely, and all we had to do was truly just bring everybody in and just be like, "You like how this sounds? Play that." Someone's like, "This is I don't like how this sounds." I'm like, "Let me hear how you like it sounds." They play it. It's like perfect. You know what I mean? And it was just it streamlined it a little bit more than this is probably the fastest record also I got to play, which is cool. It's like 7 months front to back. You know, it's like really was just a great process of making it through the whole thing. So yes, that's up to both Sam. Sam Yamaha and Sam Croft. I got two Sams. And I got Sam as my booker, so shout out to Sam. And I got Sam as my goddamn tour booker. So shout out to all my Sams, bro. I can't have you can't be a white guy around me with your name not Sam, bro. I'm sorry. Like for real. You think the viewers think I'm joking? Tell my booker, the person who booked this, Sam. Like,
True.
yep, I got you can only hang around me, white boys, if your name is Sam. I'm sorry, something about it. Something about it, dude. You cool, Robert. My bad.
I appreciate
And Robert.
That was a good save.
Thanks. Don't scrap the interview. Yeah.
I feel like you were talking about this person without saying their name, and we were talking about you wanting to have this communal experience on Magic Alive through the folks that you invited to join you. But when I started listening to this album and I saw that Pink Sifu was one of the guests on it, I thought he was a perfect complement to Magic Alive because of what he embodies as an artist. You know, especially the piece around community. Could you just talk about, in your own words, like some of the things you appreciate most about Sifu's artistry?
Who? Steve Fu. I mean, honestly, where to even begin? High key. Let me think of this plan before I put it on wax. I would say Pink Seafood. Of the folks that are rapping right now, favorite favorite rappers that are putting stuff out consistently that also intersect with great music because sometimes they be putting stuff out and it's trash, but I like it. You know what I mean? But I think Seafood, the consistency, the longevity, the variance, the cohesiveness. I've had Seafood on other records before, you know, but it's never changed. I think that is the best part about people's work is that it really is like, I mean, where do you want to begin? Like, hey, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
like, where do you want? Like, everybody knows. So it's just so cool because, oh, you want to listen to a punk album? You know, you can listen to one of Secret records. You want to listen to like straight up electronic beats. You can listen to one Secret records. You want to hear like everybody coming together and making the craziest Southern record, like underground Southern record in a minute, IQ, like consistently. You listen to Secret records. So it's cool having him on there because it is also sort of like whenever he appears, he appears. You know, it's never like I feel like I feel like something about him. You never expect him to be on my record, but he is of course on my record. And that verse is also crazy because he just be
Mm.
flowing.
Yeah, I appreciate everything that you're describing about him. I mean, the versatility is crazy.
Crazy.
And for me, like he's a good reminder that Black people have influenced every bit of music there is. Because even I mean, if it's punk, if it's R&B, if it's no matter what he does, it sounds Black. And it's a reminder. It's a reminder of like what we have influenced, our impact. Yeah.
Yes, that's what Seafood is. There's so much work in that. So much like could stop now. Indeed. Like I would say, yeah, Seafood is definitely one of my favorites back in like because what a concept. You know, what a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's fun. That's the best part about it. See,
Hmm.
I like when rap music's fun. I feel like rap music just hasn't been fun. You know, it hasn't been and when it is fun, it's sort of like, you know, great. You know, it's like Drake is fun. You know, it's never nothing. Niggas is not having fun. I feel like there's a disconnect. Niggas having fun. Solid body to work. But seafood, it's always like, damn, where did you even find this person at? And this is like the best verse they like on the track. It's like this
Yeah.
person with like 200 monthly listeners is like flowing like crazy on this song, and you've never even heard of them. And that's the best part about seafood. Also, that's what I try to inspire my records. It's like you find a nigga that is good with a little help, that nigga can be great. You know what I mean? Like easy. It's like so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
The last song on the album is called Could Have Been Different. It surprised me a little bit because the previous track, the title track, Magic Alive, just builds and builds and ends with an outpouring of sound and emotion that feels very much like a grand finale.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's Could Have Been Different. I have a couple questions about this. First, what made it feel important to end this project with Could Have Been Different?
I really wanted this to be like a story. I feel like there's the prologue with Wash My Hands. You know what I mean? Summer is hot, babies and beer, stepping under my t-shirt. It's sort of like setting up the story of everybody gather around, like, the young and running of Magic in his hands, Magic alive, yada. Everybody running around like they're with stuff. And then it goes with Sugar Water, the beginning where it's like, the kids are now outside, blah, 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 blah. They meet this kid, the person who can bring their kid back. We in my grandma's house, we bring the kid back. Like, from there, the story progresses, right? But then I also wanted there to be an epilogue. And I thought that Magic Alive, I love it. I love when it's like, this is the end. You know what I mean? We've all survived it. But just because we survived it does not mean that the day is, there's still always tomorrow. And I think that Could Have Been Different it feels like a breath, because it is still a lot to have survived it. It is still a lot, even in that, like, because the ending of Magic Alive is not really joyous. It's still like finding out that it is stressful, finding out that how do we make it out, finding out that, oh, to do it is you put your hand on your shoulder. That this person is pointing to direction. We ran, we danced, survived, that's Magic Alive. And I think that does not necessarily mean that it is like an easy moment. Could Have Been Different is a really cool way for it to be like, it all could, there's still tomorrow. This is not the end of the book. This is the moment of rest that is between you and your next story.
Towards the end of Could Have Been Different, you talk about struggling to write. You look at the poster on the wall and you ask, what do you think? And that's when Blue's verse starts.
You see, I think bright, though the mind is dark. Open my optics to optimism. That's what I was taught. To live like I'm blind, yet always guided by God. And I do this for anyone who looks anything like my mom. You asking me what I think, I'm just a poster on your wall. And I think you know the answer is right in your catalog. McKinley, you showed me the importance of self-belief. Be love, be jazz, you don't gotta be me.
His verse offers reassurance. He refers to your 2021 album, For My Mama and Anyone Who Looks Like Her. And he says, quote, the answer is right in your catalog, McKinley. You showed me the importance of self-relief. Be love, be jazz. You don't gotta be me. How did Blue end up being the person to say these words on this song?
So you want something? Even in that line, right? Like, Blue in this song references every album in my catalog. My 2018 album, The Importance of Self-Belief. He says, that's where he references that. Then he says, be love, be jazz, beloved paradise jazz. You know what I mean? References For My Mama earlier on. And then he says, who taught you? That's my first record is Who Taught You to Hate Yourself. So it's a crazy verse, right? On a lot of different levels, because it is like a legend going through my catalog. And, it's an overwhelming verse in a lot of ways, but it's also really great because that record, Blues Below the Heavens, is the reason why I'm rapping. You know what I mean? That's my first rap album that I identified with, to the point of being like, I can connect on it in a way that is intimate. You know what I mean? Like, I can see myself in these stories, and I think that is the perfect way to end the record. Like, and I think a really cool thing with my music is you're gonna hear it and you're like, I need to give my best. You know what I mean? I need to give my best. And Blue is somebody who recognizes and identifies with my music. I think that just became, like, we have a really, really great friendship. And I think that just became, that verse just was him giving me his best like everybody else.
Shout out to Blue. We just spoke.
Shout out to Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to This Is 40, I think. This Is 40.
Yeah.
Yep. Shout out for that record because hell yeah, you know what I mean? Like that record, Below the Heavens, man. If I hadn't heard that, like I think about 2009, I had my iPad pulled up. I think it's 2009 or 2010. If I had heard that record in 2000, whenever I wouldn't be rapping. You know, I wouldn't have had no, I wouldn't have seen myself in it. You know what I mean? So I think, yeah, that verse is, I mean, where do you even begin?
Yo, stop. Ecstatic, get it, fantastic, get it, wow, great, wow, get it. People, bad news and good dope, powder, potion, pill, smoke. Baby, how you trying to go? Duro or dulce, fast or slow? Yay, no, it's okay, you can have it your way. Nah, it ain't all good, but baby, I'm cool. Feeling great, feeling good, how are you? 10% condition, 90% response. Survival mathematics, the number man song. Old dad dropped the jewels so pure. When the times get raw, it's something I recall. Sometime I don't remember it at all. And get stormed by the weather, but no umbrella. Sky release pressure and the ground get wetter. My outfit effed up, I could've looked fresher. But guess what? The hell with parade day rain. Tsunami of sunshine, the bomb is just the same. Life is a game, I heard the homie say, but I came to win. Dante.
Every episode we ask our guests to pick an album that is either a personal classic, something that's been influential on their art, or maybe just a favorite of some sort. Tonight we're talking about the Ecstatic, and we'll talk about Mos Def, Yasin Bey. Just a side note, I was just asking E about this the other day. In my mind, when I think about Mos Def records, I still say Mos Def instead of Yasin Bey. I don't know if anybody else does that, but anyway, that's irrelevant. McKinley, what led you to pick this record?
Oh man, this record. I mean, it's just okay. So this record, I think the best thing about this record to me is how nonchalantly Mos Def intertwines magic into his conversational speech. I use jazz because jazz is able to go up and down, and I view my music and my albums, and the raps I have as conversations with myself. You know what I mean? Maybe sometimes I'm with myself in a public place, sometimes I'm with myself by myself in my house. You know what I mean? So the best way to have a conversation to mirror your voice and goes up and down is through jazz, right? So that's why I use a lot of jazz. With Mos Def, and it's inspired because Mos Def on this album, the beats are loops and things of that nature. There's instrumentals, simple instrumentals that capture so much in just their simplicity, and then they have Mos Def whose words are just so easily conversational over top of it that they become, in that there's magic, just everything he's saying, just how he can say it to you and it don't even sound, incorrect. You agree with it, especially on a record that has so many, intertwined so many things, so many Islamic things, especially that came out in 2009. What a record. That's why I picked that record, because it just also feels like a spell. Every song feels like a spell. It feels like sometimes he's whispering to you, sometimes he's talking to you, but it feels like a very conversation with a magician that doesn't feel threatening. Just feels like, oh, I know this guy. So many reasons why I love that record, man. Which is funny shit, actually, because I forgot the record before that is True Magic. That's the funny thing about it. And that record, it's a cool record. It's a cool record. I got the Ecstatic and I got Black on Both Sides on my top records, probably top 10 records of all time, both of them. True Magic, there's a couple hits on that one. It's just, I think like I was saying with Magic before, it is also a little bit of the luck and the timing. And I think the timing of the Ecstatic makes it more, I think True Magic came out 2006. I haven't put on it yet, but the timing of that one is what makes the luck a little bit more. It's a little different than True Magic. Like True Magic is a little on the nose, you know what I mean? But the Ecstatic, it's just he nonchalantly, like the spell just flew into it. You know, you could feel it.
Yeah, and you could make an argument that Geffen Records may have rushed True Magic and maybe wasn't what it could have been.
Exactly, exactly. There's a lot. I mean, you can't find the Ecstatic on streaming. You know, it's just that record, the timing of it.
Yeah.
It was cool. It's also like even naming your record before that, True Magic, and then hitting it on this one. You know, getting that spark on this one. It's just a little thing.
Do you remember the first time you heard the Ecstatic?
No, I don't. I listened to it so much. Like there was a time where let me see actually, because it might actually one of the main times I was replaying it was the last season of the Boondocks. When that come out? 2014. Yeah, that was. I mean, 2000 probably like 2013, 2014. I was listening to it heavy just because whenever you come back to it, it just fits. You know, it just is such a like. I mean, every song, like the song from song like two, honestly, which is song like two,
Speedball?
Twilight Speedball, all the way until probably. I mean, I could even say Roses. We'll say like Pretty Dancer, but you could even make a thing and say Roses is like it's just all so magical, so easy to fit into your lives and just how you move, especially as we get older. You know, I think that's the best thing about these records is that this record ages with you and it also allows you to be like, don't forget, like if you're getting older and you feel like you're losing this sort of like momentum, even with Mos Def, it's reflective of him in that way. You feel like you're losing this momentum, like as long as you are yourself and you keep a little bit of that shit like with you and that intention and intuition with you, like you will find you'll find where you need to go, but also you should to remember your anger to not be at, this person in front of you. I feel like it's just such a conversational album. It's such a great way to be like, oh, the establishment, man. Like, it's a punk.
I was listening to this album today. I listened to this album 3 times today, like twice, like
Crazy,
back to back.
right? Like,
And the first time I mean, I've heard it before, but the first time I was listening to it for today, I was just like, I understand why you picked this album. The analogy, like the comparison you're using of like this magician is like, it's stuck in my head now. And
you feel it, yeah.
you can. And I think like, we like magicians because just these charmers, right?
Yeah.
That like, and you said it, like they put you under a spell and you don't even know you're under a spell.
Yeah.
You're like listening to this music. I was doing something when I was listening to this music. I'm like, long story short, I'm like moving out of my house. I'm moving to London and I'm like getting it ready for like people to like rent. I'm renting it out or whatever. So I have to do all this fucking painting. So I was painting while I was listening to this. And you would think something like that would distract you, but it didn't at all. Like I was so immersed in this album that I forgot I was painting. If that makes sense. Like I was so involved in like what I was listening to that like it didn't feel like I was painting. It just felt like I was listening to this album. It was so interesting. And like twice I was listening to it, I was painting and I just did not like it just I don't know, I can't explain it. But like I think that's what a magician does. So that's like the perfect way to describe him and doing this album.
Yeah, it just feels, I don't know, something like, it feels like it's spells, it feels like he's just casting spells. It feels like, and I don't, I don't want to get too into the imagery of it, but I just feel when you listen to this record, you just know you're comfortable with like the magic that he is like, it's not nothing too crazy. It's just like, oh, this is like the magic that he has, but also it's a little bit of the magic that I got. You know what I mean? And it's not even something that you acknowledge. It's really just by the time you get through a certain part of it, it's just, like no hit out of mouse, like Roses, like Auditorium, like it's just all, even like having Slick Rick on there. It's
oh my god.
Yo, the way I feel. Sometimes it's too hard to sit still. Things are so passionate, times are so real. Sometimes I try to chill, mellow down, blow a smoke. A smile on my face, but it's really no joke. You feel it in the street that people breathe without hope. They going through the motion, they dimming down the focus. The focus get cleared and the light turns sharp and the eyes grow teary. The mind grow weary. I speak it so clearly, sometimes y'all don't hear me. I push it past the base, no nations got to feel me. I feel it in my bones, black, I'm so wide awake that I'm hardly ever sleep. My flow forever deep in its volumes of scriptures when I breathe on a beat. My presence speak volumes before I say a word. I'm everywhere, penthouse, pavement, the curb. Cradle to the grave, talk cathedral of a shell. Universal ghetto life, holla black, you know it well. Quiet storm, vital form, pen push the bright across. Mind is a vital force, hollow a right across. Soul is the lion's raw, voice is the siren. I swing round, ring out, and bring down the tyrant. Chop a small axe and knock a giant lopsided. The world is so dangerous, there's no need for frightened. The suckers trying to hide like the struggle won't find them. Then the sun busts through the cloud to clearly remind them this everywhere. Penthouse, pavement, the curb. Cradle to the grave, talk cathedral of a shell. Universal ghetto life, holla black, you know it well what it is. You know, they know what it is. We know, y'all know what it is. Ecstatic, there it is.
That song is even him being a snake charmer. You know, it's like, it just sounds like this magician is just speaking like, it sounds like specifically this black magician. It's just, spells just because of how black folk automatically talk. You know what I mean? It just seems so, the rhythm of it all, and the cadence of it all. It's just, he's rapping. And that's what he's rapping. And that's what the spell is. That's the magic. That's all of it. He's rapping.
I also think a good magician can take an old trick and make it seem like it's a new one.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's what he's doing. I mean, from the album cover, like it's, you know, it's from a movie. I forget the name of it. You know,
Killer of the Sheep, I think.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And like some of the samples that he's using on here. I mean, even having like Slick Rick on here. I don't know. I thought of like a children's story and the way that in like the story he's telling on this, like it almost feels like a different version of that. So like, I don't know. I just feel like he's taking like things that have been done before and you know, through different mediums, and he's like reinvented them. He's like presenting them as new tricks, if that makes any sense.
It does.
I mean, he literally did that with some of these beats. Like the Mad Lib and Oh No beats had already been released. So they were already out on their respective like beat tapes. And he made them his own somehow still without really altering them in any way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, even like I'm on the page right now, and I haven't checked to see how it's intertwined, but you go through the writers on some of these records, it's Michael Jackson, Marvin Gaye. Like Michael Jackson and Marvin Gaye are a few of these like as the writers. And it's like even just like that intertwining that is like you know, I don't know how yet. I'm definitely gonna do a deep dive of it, but just seeing like Marvin, I mean, it makes sense. You know, it makes sense.
I'm like the magic, you know, framing, because even the way this record moves, the length of songs and the zero space between those songs, which I always thought like makes it sound like a mixtape.
Yeah.
Also feels kind of magical. He's like, poof, he's over here. Poof, he's over here. He's rhyming this way. He's singing now. He's speaking a different language.
Exactly.
And all of that is smooth. Like it's a very smooth transition. Yeah. So I like framing that as magical. That's going to make me listen to the record differently.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it just feels like it exactly is that. You know, it's just casual. It's a conversation. I think that's what I try to pull into my. I'm trying to make it so it just feels, you know, it just feels obvious. You hear it. You hear Mos Def speaking in a different language. Like, dude, you hear Mos Def going up to the beat. Like, you hear Mos Def telling you what it is by going through like rhyming phrases that are only two words. You know, two word pause, two word pause. You know, it's like it's really obvious. I feel like Mos Def is one of those really cool rappers that when you're naming your top five, you don't even say them because it's obvious. You know, it's like, of course. Oh, people are like, what about Mos Def? Or Andre 3000? And it's like, oh yeah, of course. You know what I mean? Duh. You know what I mean? But that's not one of the ones that is like, you know. So I think it's cool. I think it's cool how he just is just casual, especially on this record. Nowadays, that's very it's just a really cool, like sort of out there in a lot of ways, but still rocking the like, rocking the then the button ups and the caps, the brim caps and stuff. Yeah, he's cool.
I think it's
Shit was
yeah.
awesome.
I think his singing really fits into what we're saying too. Like it's so seamless, like the way that it fits into like, the tracks that he's doing it on. Like it doesn't feel forced. It just feels part of this. It's just so like it feels effortless and it doesn't feel out of place. I think sometimes when especially back then, when rappers tried to sing, it didn't always felt like it fit.
Yeah,
It does so well on this. I mean, there was so many times where I was just like, I want him singing more on this. Like, I was into it, I was grooving, and I was just
yes,
like, more, more, give me more. But I really appreciate it. And I mean, I've heard him sing, on other stuff too, but like, I don't know, it's just something about it on this project in particular.
yeah. I mean, No Hate Anonymous is
Yes.
just a perfect song. It's just a perfect song,
Yes.
and it's just a loop. Him speaking Spanish with like repeating the chorus over again, and it's just a perfect song. I think that, and the cool thing is, it's a perfect song, but it doesn't sound like most Def songs. He sounds fresh on the record. Every song sounds fresh.
Mm,
And I think that it is. It was also reflective of the time it was. Like, it was a comeback. Because people
yeah.
was not really vibing with True Magic. I'm not gonna hold you. I remember seeing True Magic on the shelves, and I also was like, damn, I don't know. Sunshine is cool, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. The next song is like a rock song. It was ahead of my time. But this one, it's like, welcome back, old friend. And it's like,
Mm.
and it's just like, yeah, nigga, I never left. It's like, all right, okay.
Yeah, that's basically what he's saying.
You know what I mean? Like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
you did. I was there, but
Yeah.
Welcome back, but also, old friend, but older and wiser and like
exactly,
more world traveled and aware of the world in a new way
exactly.
is very great record. I just met Preservation for the first time last week.
Sick.
So shout out to Preservation.
Definitely shout out to Revelation. Oh, not a month. Yeah, yeah. Crazy record.
Yeah. McKinley, this has been great. Thank you for your time
Thank you. Yeah,
and for picking this record. This is a record that I always loved but haven't picked up in a while, so I was glad to give it another listen.
it's always good to come back to this record, especially as we get into a time where people are pointing their anger in directions that they shouldn't be. This record lets you remember that it's like there is we should we should point in a direction that is unified and not all of us individually. And I think we haven't even touched on that aspect of this record being like, you know, the big bad is not you and I, it is them, for lack of a better.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you pointing that out. Before we let you go, any promotional stuff you want folks to know about the new record?
We got a tour. Tours in I want to say August, man. I think it's August. I don't got it pulled up, but I want to say August. US and September? Question mark. I think we also go to September. And then Europe is in October. So if you European, if you know a European person, tell them come out. We're gonna go to a bunch of places in Europe.
Are you going to London?
Oh yeah, and the UK. See, I also say Europe and the UK, but I did it on one thing. I felt bad because we actually got bumped to the UK show. So also we're gonna be in the UK, London. Yes, my bad.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm moving to London, that's why I asked.
Oh, you did say that. When are you moving to London? That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
Are you in the States right now?
I am. I'm in Philly right now. Yeah.
Whoa, Philly to London. I just had a homie that did that move.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a big move. Good for you, honestly, because moving to another country is one of those things that everybody loves to say, but to actually act out is over fucking out. Like, where you put all your shit, man? Like, where do you like?
Son,
Where you
don't
put
even
your
get me
couch,
started.
bro? Like you don't fuck with your couch no more. Like that's crazy. Where you
Yo,
put it? Like,
you don't
damn.
know how many times I wanted to go out and buy a pack of cigarettes. I'm fucking stressed as fuck.
Like, damn, that big ass mirror, bro. You ain't fuck with that no more. That was like
Yeah.
$200. Like,
All
yeah,
gotta go. Yeah,
yeah.
son.
I feel for you, bro. Like, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, catch McKinley on the road, including in London and the UK if you're out that way.
Yes.
Magic Alive comes out June 6th. I assume it'll be on all streaming that date.
Every single one that day, exactly that day, clock strike midnight, wherever you at. Don't spoil it for the other time zones.
That's right. Let them have their own experience with magic.
Exactly, alive.
Mhm.
That's what's up. All right, McKinley, thank you again. Really appreciate your time.
Thank y'all.
This has been The Next Movement. Peace.
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 Circumstances of the world making us sorry we Maybe when I'm on jury again, a black king for the fury again. I see me far from judged by jury and men. Circumstances of the world making us sorry we
I heard from the window, I hear my name said differently each time. Space between it the same. The sound from where she come from and the mama before she came. A nod to the second floor, a smile, simple exchange. I think I'm losing my vision as the past get further away. Thoughts revoke their permission to be called upon like God. I need to make the decision if it's life or death ain't for it's cleft. Stunning trees the only ref. Ain't no need to answer yet, but can I have your stories when you gone? I'm fiending, itching to make my way to forever. I'm scheming, hoping these niggas don't get too clever. These demons just hell-bent on being so heaven sent, burning through whatever next just to find out what forever meant. Teaming up with the thought that I don't need you, I'm leaving out of the house just till the light. Look through the screen door, seen when we danced all night. Don't cry, skin the tone to let us hot in night sky. She blowing up your phone and you miss her. Nigga, don't lie, smoking, joking like if we see that boy, is you gon' ride? If the house is burning down, how could we survive? Yeah. Goddamn nigga, don't just say all that concerning shit. Besides, you should know, none of this is permanent. I mean, sitting in this car, mean you got a point. Sorry, I put Vaseline on for hitting your joint. Water wash over is a dance to annoying, but brown liquor helped me pirouette round the point. Yeah.